grounded, he will.
It's the Skinny on Sports Podcast with Aaron Cowk.
I throw balls far. You want good words? Data language.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Cowk with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
And a good Thursday morning out there, Western Oklahoma. Welcome to the Skinny on Sports right here on 98.1 FM, The Sports Animal. Glad to have you along for the next hour. We got a jam-packed show, and we're going to start it off by talking with Austin Litterell. He is with the Chickasha Express Star. Austin, how are you this morning?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm doing well. You've got a busy day, it looks like, coming up in the sports world for yourself.
Yeah, just a little bit. Got up nice, bright and early for some volleyball this morning, and then football tonight.
Tell us all about your day.
Yeah, so up here in Yukon, first round of the state Class 3A volleyball tournament, and I got Ambrobo Cassett taking on Christian Heritage Academy, and then football tonight, and then maybe some state softball somewhere in the middle.
So you being at Chickasha, I mean, there's a bunch of schools around you. Give the listeners an idea of just who all you will cover on a daily basis or weekly basis.
Yeah, so kind of go all over the place. My main one's Ambrobo Cassett, Minko, and then I got some Tuttle and Blanchard as well. And then there are a bunch of smaller schools around here that I also cover.
Mainly the football, or you do? I mean, obviously some of those don't play football, so you're watching anything and everything that those schools do.
Yeah, usually just kind of depends on if I have time.
You're just a one-man show, right? You're just
yes,
it's just you in the sports department there?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the state of newspaper nowadays, isn't it? That's crazy, and you're everywhere. I mean, I follow your stuff, and you do a great job. Keep up the good work. We're great admirers of you. You do a good job.
Thank you. And the good thing about 2023 is a lot of schools stream their stuff, and that helps.
Let's talk about tonight, Elk City and Chickasha. Give us an idea of what the brown and white fans can expect from the Chicks tonight at Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, I think, well, first they're going to fight. I think now we're going to see a team that's starting to kind of find its identity. They lost a lot of talent from last year, new head coach. I think they're going to they like to, line it up and run the ball right at you. They got a couple of really good running backs behind a offensive line that's gotten a lot better. Defensively, I think they've come a long way since giving up 64 to El Reno. Turnovers has been big. They forced 8 over the past couple of weeks. But like I said, I think we got a team that's kind of took a while, but has kind of started to find its identity a little bit with all these changes that have taken place.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting comment because it feels the same way out here with some new guys taking over for guys that have been entrenched in the program for a few years, and that's kind of what last week felt out here too. Is okay, got an identity after kind of searching, and young guys stepping up. Quarterback Cade Rayburn's been there for a while, kind of played off and on at split time. It seems like he's the man so far this year. Talk about his ability to not only throw the ball, but also a very good athlete and can run it all the way up and down the field as well.
Yeah, he's shown the ability to make big plays with his arm, but he's made some, I think what people might forget, that he is a good runner. He may not necessarily look like it, and he may not be the fastest, but the dude, he can move with his feet, and that's going to be huge, I think, tonight, getting him going on that ground game, because, I mean, that just adds another dynamic to the very good rushing backfield that Chickasha has, and I think that's going to be really important.
You don't often see, even in 4A, being able to replace the production of Malik Murphy, the all-world tailback from last year, 2,000 yards in the season and all that. Yeah. But Chickasha's done a really good job of it. A two-headed monster this year with Owen Shells and also Harold. Talk about their strengths, and are they kind of the same, or they have a little bit of a different running style to them?
I would say they're kind of a little bit different. James Harold started out the year as the main running back, and he did a great job. And then they brought in Derek Owen Shells. I'm trying to think what game it was. It might have been the Anadarko game. And he just brings, on both sides of the ball, really a physical game that maybe Harold doesn't quite have. Like, he's going to hit you hard on defense, and he's going to put his helmet down, and he's going to hit you hard on offense, and he has really stepped up. Couple 100 yards a couple weeks ago against John Marshall, ran for over 100 yards and a couple touchdowns last week against Woodward. He has I think, really helped settle this offense down, and I think, again, it's helped them find that identity they've been looking for.
Hey, Austin, Jared here. Sorry, I stepped out, so if you already talked about this part of the game, excuse me, but it's very windy today. And does Chickasha like to throw it around? And if so, will that game plan change because of these high gusty winds, or what can you tell us about that?
Honestly, I think this could probably be beneficial for. I think they'll throw it occasionally, but they don't. I wouldn't say they've taken just a ton of deep shots downfield. They really like to use that run game to set up the pass. So I think that's going to help them with that run game, and I'd expect a physical rushing attack. And then kind of depending on which way the wind's blowing, because the wind was pretty heavy last week as well. And, again, they just used that rushing attack against Woodward, and Woodward couldn't stop it.
Punting should be very interesting tonight for both teams.
Well,
maybe even extra points.
Interesting last week.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, there's certain guys that get to play early on, and you just remember their names year after year, and eventually you think, when in the world, how long have they been there? To me, watching Chickasha, Logan Palisano is a guy like that. It seems like him, Cecil Robinson, have been on either the offensive or defensive line forever for Chickasha, but it does look like they're both doing a whale of a job on either line.
Oh, yeah, like Cecil Robinson, he is the anchor for that offensive line. That offensive line lost some great talent last year, and so he's kind of anchored that and it's taken a little bit, but the running game's gotten going, and I think that offensive line has just gotten better and better as the year's gone on, led by him. And then Logan Palisano, he's just everywhere. The dude just has instincts for football, and he just kind of, like I said, he's just everywhere all the time, it seems like.
Yeah, one other guy on the defensive side that was impressive last year, even then a big-time loss against the Elks, was Franklin. It seemed like at the linebacker spot, his instincts and his ability to get to where the ball is going it kind of jumped out at us last year during that game.
Yeah, exactly. And, again, they're playing on a defense that, again, start out the season, give up 64 to El Reno, but I think we've learned that El Reno's rushing attack is really good.
Yeah.
So, I think I've seen progress from then till now, and I think it starts there and it starts up front. And like I said, this defense has got a couple interceptions last week, 4 turnovers the week before. Their 3 wins, they forced 11 turnovers. I think that's going to be key tonight.
You know, we have an opinion and an assessment so far of 4A1. What's your assessment of the district?
I've still been trying. I've still been trying to figure it out, honestly. I think Clinton's probably kind of put itself at the top right now, but outside of that, I think it's kind of hard to judge, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, tonight I think goes a long way in kind of sifting out that order with the game in Chickasha, with Elk City and Chickasha, and then also down in Cache with Weatherford and Cache.
Yes, I would say so. The 3 games I thought were must-wins for Chickasha, they've won 2, Woodward, John Marshall. I think no matter what happens tonight and against Clinton, if they beat Cache, they'll be at least that number 4 spot. If they can win tonight, that probably changes up the order, but I agree. I think tonight's results will kind of figure out where the standing order is in this district.
Hey, and bravo to the Chickasha faithful, donors, whoever, that Chickasha's joined the Turf Club. I've seen some pictures. I'm anxious to see the field. How's the team respond to that? Do they feel like they're running faster on the turf or anything like that? It looks really cool.
Yeah, I think that so far, yeah. Unfortunately, they've only played 2 home games this year. They went a month without playing on it, but they looked good last week. That first week, El Reno seemed really fast on it, but it is a really nice renovated stadium. The turf is great. They got a video board.
New press box?
No, I haven't told you. Let him finish. Let him finish.
Go ahead, Austin. Sorry.
Unfortunately, the press box is the same. They might have done some renovations up there. I'm never usually up there. I'm usually on the sideline, so it's hard for me to say.
Yeah, I haven't told Jared yet, but Jerry Don, when I emailed with him earlier this week, there is there's Wi-Fi and there's air conditioning in our side of the press box.
That's a step in the right direction. I love it. Now, we've always said this about Chickasha. Jerry Don and his whole staff, the hospitality when we come there is top notch, maybe the best we've ever been ever.
Yeah.
And it almost makes up, and I'm not trying to say there's a lot of press boxes that need work in everywhere we go, hometown included, but that almost makes up for whatever press box that we're in is hospitality. But now hearing that we got some AC and when it's supposed to be 90 today, we might not need it with this wind, but I'm just anxious to get over there and check out the new turf and the new digs.
Yeah, the new turf is great. They got a brand new track, so they'll be able to do track meets again. It is night and day different.
It's awesome.
It's very good. So in your mind tonight, what is a couple of keys for the Fighting Chicks if they want to come away with the win over the Big Elks?
I think, trying to keep Elk City's rushing attack off the field, and the defense getting off the field is going to be huge, not letting Elk City go on a long 5, 6, 7-minute drive. I think that's big. And then, like I mentioned it earlier, turnovers. Turnovers, if you look at Chickasha's games this year, when they've lost the turnover battle. When they've won the turnover battle. And we're 6 games in. I think that's a pattern that would continue. I think they're going to need to get some turnovers tonight.
All right, man. Hey, we know that you're busy. You got to get in there to that volleyball game, but we do appreciate you carving out just a little bit of time to get our listeners acquainted with what's coming up tonight from the Fighting Chicks. Go ahead.
Said always love being on with you guys anytime.
Absolutely. We'll do it again, and we'll see you down there tonight.
Yep, see you later.
All right, that's Austin Litterell of the Chickasha Express Star hanging out with us for just a little bit to preview the game tonight between the Chicks and the Big Elks. Coach Maynard talked about physicality, and I know from the Elk City side that's what, the bedrock of the program. I am impressed, though, Jared, because I was telling him when you stepped away. A lot of times when you have a guy like they had last year in Murphy, mm-hmm. and the success that they had just handing him the ball and the ability that he had, you see a drop off. But it's not just one guy this year; it's 2. But Owen Shells and also Harrell, it doesn't feel like, not to take anything away from Murphy's ability because it was awesome, but it doesn't necessarily feel like they've dropped off a ton in the run game.
No, it seems very potent, and that's where they want to start, and that's where they're going to go. And that just credit to the Chickasha coaching staff and the program, because you're right. You hear names that you've heard for a long time being there. Well, they laid that base with those young men, 3-4 years ago, and now they're now here we are with them, and they're continuing to do that. That's a sign of a good program. And then, like we said earlier, off the field, they're doing stuff. They're buying into the program. But back to your point, it's going to start with the ground game, and it's going to have to be physical up front. It's kind of it's kind of our assessment of the Clinton game. Who's going to win that attack up front? Who's going to be more physical? Could have some success. And I'm also going to lean on, and Austin mentioned it, they're taking the ball away. When they're in the plus, on the high side of the plus-minus and turnover ratio, they're winning ball games. Well, so is Elk City. Elk City took the ball away at will all the time last week. And I don't know, as a season, you might know it. What is the plus-minus on turnovers for Elk City?
I'd have to look at my sheets.
But it seems like when they need a turnover, they get it. Or like last week, it was not necessarily need one, but it started things off, and then it just snowballed from there, turnover after turnover. So, whoever can win the turnover battle, whoever can hold on to it on the other side of it, is going to have a real good chance to win this game tonight. I do think the win's a factor. It's going to change the minds of a lot of I think, like, okay, let's throw it here, or instead of punting, we might as well just go for it, because if we punt into the stiff south breeze, we have a better shot of getting a first down if we just go for it. So I think that might actually play a factor, or even going for 2 if you're having to kick into the wind with your extra point.
Yeah, field position is all. We see
position,
this all the time.
Yeah.
If you can, kick it through the end zone downwind, and then maybe force a negative play on the first set of downs or what have you. All of a sudden, the punter's standing inside his own 10, kicking into that south wind, and it's not a breeze; it's a wind.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, a kick out to your own 40 or 45 is a really good accomplishment for the kicking team.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the other team's already set up shop inside your territory. We see this all. It's.
I'd love to talk to a special teams coach right now. And so, how do you game plan for high winds? Because you mentioned you got the wind on your back. Yeah, let her rip, kick it through the end zone. But if you're, say, kicking into the wind, a success is keeping them around the 35 to 40-yard line. You don't want to high onside it because the wind could actually hang it up. And there's a lot of, do you squib it? Do you locate? What do you do? And same thing with punting. Do you do rugby style and get more of a line drive kick away from
I think of it in punting way more than kickoffs.
Yeah.
If kickoffs are going to be what they are.
Yeah.
But another thing, I mean, maybe not as much in the high school game because you don't necessarily see a guy that has the ability to do this. But like in college, or even the pros, how many times do you see just a booming punt and they outkick their coverage? And all of a sudden it comes back a long ways the other way because they're not used to have to run that extra 15 or 20 yards to get to where the ball carrier is. Next thing you know, he's got a head of steam coming back the other way. It's just harder to bottle him up. So, I think I always think about this when we know it's going to be a windy in that field position battle, and you kind of there's schools of thought. I mean, I've seen, I remember a Newcastle game here. It's been 5, 6, 7 years ago. It was cold and windy, close game at halftime. Newcastle has the choice, and they take the wind in the third. They take the wind in the third quarter instead of maybe the conventional wisdom of having it in the fourth, in case you need a field goal. Well, by the time the end of the third quarter is over, they've won the field position battle so bad it's a 28-point game. So the fourth quarter win doesn't matter,
right?
Because you just when you're going that win, especially if you start deep, getting a first down or 2 or 3 just to get toward midfield and create some sort of field position is a huge part of these games a lot of times.
I've seen a game start with no wind, absolutely beautiful, and then a cold front hits by like halftime, and all of a sudden the team is at a disadvantage because that wind is just hits. It was a funny game. I can't remember when that was. Anyways, so who needs the win more? I mean, everyone wants to win, but in the grand scheme of things, positioning for playoffs, possibly playing for second or even first place in the district, depending on things shake out. Does Chickasha need that win more, or does Elk City?
I think it's Chickasha, and here's why. Elk City, if you look at the standings right now and you just assume Clinton's going to win the district, which I just am. So you have that up there. Then there's 4 teams for 3 spots, and it's Weatherford, Chickasha, Elk City, and Cache. Mm-hmm. Of those teams, the Elks have a win already over those teams. Chickasha has a loss already to those teams, which is Weatherford. Okay, so a loss tonight, then they have to beat Cache. That's going to be a playoff game. If things go the way people probably assume they might, with the I-40 schools beating the Southern schools tonight, all of a sudden, now you've got basically a play-in game coming up, just as it was a year ago with Chickasha and Cache.
Right.
So that's why I would say if they could sneak this one out, if they could kind of upset that apple cart, then they'll always have that advantage against Cache. It could come down to tiebreakers or what have you, but that would go a long ways into helping them secure a spot, any of the spots, but secure a spot into the playoffs. So I would say them, but both need it.
I mean, the obvious answer is they both need to win.
That's right.
Who's going to be more hungry and all of that. And elsewhere in the district, Weatherford at Cache, it almost kind of mirrors. Okay, if they could take care of business against Cache, which we suspect they will. And Elk City takes care of business tonight against Chickasha. I mean, that sets up a big game next week with Weatherford coming to town.
Yeah, I want to say this about Cache. I think the product we saw last week isn't the true Bulldogs. You saw Harbin get nicked during the game.
Right.
Muldowney never seemed right.
Yeah.
Throughout, I mean, he didn't touch the ball at all, and he's been their workhorse. And we saw him kind of look like he aggravated something that maybe he had coming in. He wasn't even out there in the second half. So depending on how you can heal in a week or whatever,
right?
But I don't think, if you're sitting there thinking, oh, Weatherford will just blow away Cache because they'll say that's not what we saw last week. Isn't what Cache really is.
There's a lot of weird things that happened to Cache, and that the injuries you mentioned, and then after that one big injury, and again we can't say enough. He's going to be fine. So
everything we've heard is
he's
going to be just fine.
But there was a big pause there, and at that point in the game, it was
35-0.
35-0. I think both teams kind of looked over, kind of tipped the hat, and said, "This is So it was a kind of a weird, and that was like midway through the third.
It was his first offensive possession for the Elks in
Yeah,
the third quarter.
yeah, it was early in that second half, and at one point we had a running clock when Elk had the ball, and it was like, let's just get out of here without any more injuries. So you're right. I mean, it didn't feel like it just. A lot of bad things happened to Cash early, or a lot of good things happened for Elk early, and that was because of Elk doing the good things. And I was so impressed because of what Cash had done previously in the previous 2 weeks, offensively and defensively. So I thought we'd get a dogfight, pardon the pun, but it is what it is. Football's a funny sport. I mean, that stuff can happen.
It is the way it is.
So that's true. I mean, you're right. I don't know. We wouldn't be so what you're saying is we wouldn't be shocked if it was like a 35-28 Weatherford win or something in that nature. Like Cash putting up a fight
I
at
simply
home.
think Cash is better than they showed last week, and I think those two, one maybe coming in that Muldowney was already nicked, and two, when Harbin got nicked in that game, really changed the ability of their offense. I mean, we saw it. The poor kid as a sophomore came in, and nerves or whatever.
Yeah, he
just couldn't hardly take a snap. And that, not that the game is already 28-0 at that point, but it just you could tell. Harbin is such an electric athlete, in that whatever the ankle looked like maybe really took that away from him. And his run pass threat was pretty well done.
People think leg injuries, it takes away a run game. That messes
trying
with
to
your
throw.
You're either pushing or landing on the. I can't remember what foot it was.
I was trying to remember too. It seemed like when he was laying there, it was on the far side, so his left ankle.
It messes.
But that'd be his plant
You'll
foot.
You'll take off a little bit on your throw because you don't want to step in or push off, and it messes with you. Now on the other side, Weatherford comes into this game after losing to Clinton last week, 17-0. So there's a lot of pride on the line for them. You always hear that term, "Don't let a game beat you twice." And that's kind of feels like that could happen if they're still kind of limping in after that Clinton loss.
It's amazing to me with the lack of offensive production that both of those teams had. Nobody got 200 yards of offense. Weatherford was in the 120s, and yet still
the fastest Custer County conflict on date.
But still,
that's unofficial stats.
They had 3 chances in the red zone.
It's crazy,
and were turned back every single time. Clinton got a defensive touchdown. I mean, their offense. Wasn't any great shakes. 177 on the ground, none in the air. Just tried to throw it twice, all in the first half. And I think you get to a point where you feel comfortable defensively that you're going to, 17 is enough to win with 2 quarters to play. I get it, why that happens, but it shows that Weatherford defensively, they better showing than they had than the Elks did, and it felt like Elk City played pretty good defensively against Clinton throughout most of the night. So, if it still is a wounded offense for Cash, it's hard to see Weatherford not being able to go down there and win. It still doesn't feel like they've gotten on track offensively just completely with what they've got. There's a lot of quarterback run game, and you have to tackle Chisholm in order to kind of set up anything else for your defense. And then, of course, there's also kids are kids. Everybody in the brown and everybody in the maroon and black or whatever knows what's next. Everybody knows what next Friday is. And so there's that potential for a look-ahead situation for both Elk City and Weatherford tonight as well. Battle for Beckham County. Merritt's won the last 2. You know what's crazy?
There's not a trophy for this game. There should be a trophy, like the Beckham County Bell. But what's crazy?
How many times do you think those 2 teams have played football against each other?
Not as many as we think.
Not even close.
No.
How about 7?
Yeah, I think they didn't start playing until this district was
formed.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And it makes sense when you like off the top of your head, you're going, no way. But for the majority of that time, Merritt was 8-man, Sayre was 11-man.
Yeah,
so
Sayre
it does make
was the bigger
sense.
school, and Merritt has really grown in ADM. Sure. It makes total sense.
5-2 Merritt. They won the last 2. Going into tonight's game there. Hollis goes to Beaver.
Do they treat it like a rivalry, like we're wanting them to treat it like a rivalry?
I don't know.
I haven't heard any trash talk.
I can tell you this.
I'd love to see it.
I guess it would have been, the last time it was there, maybe?
In Sayre?
Yeah. No, it can't be because Merritt won 2 in a row. So it would have been 2 times ago when Colt Merrick scored on the last play.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It felt like a rivalry at that point. People were going crazy or people were really upset.
I mean, that's the bragging rights. You can say we're the
but maybe it doesn't feel like it yet because they've only played 7. It's so new.
Yeah. But when you get that okay, 7 times. Now you start getting kids on these teams that have always played them, right?
Yeah,
so there's that pride there, and you got to know they're hanging out with each other. They're dragging Maine over here in
Heck,
Elk
they might
or
be,
something.
the shooting sports is big. It's becoming a huge thing. Who knows? They might be.
Man, I don't think shooting sports and rivalry should really go together. That seems like a bad idea.
They end up on the same team though for Becker
That's
County.
right. That's right.
Around the state in 4A, and we kind of talked a little bit about it yesterday as far as looking ahead to what could be matchups and playoffs and that kind of thing. A really interesting game to me just because what are these teams? And it's Oklahoma has it as the number 2 game in the state. It's number 8 Cushing against number 9 Tulsa McLean. Cushing is, even at 4-2 and only 2-1 in the district, that one loss was last week by a single point to Wagner. And then McLean has come out of almost nowhere. They've won 4 in a row. Cushing probably the best team they will have played in this 5-game stretch. So that's a really interesting game to me. Is McLean for real? Is Cushing more of a reload than a rebuild? Because I'll promise you, walking out of the Putnam City Stadium last year, my thoughts were Cushing better get this one, or because they're losing everybody. Everybody's except for obviously not literally everybody, but close. But they've really they've impressed me so far with the way that they played, losing all those guys. So that's an interesting one to me.
Yeah, it is. The thing about Cushing, it's something we always fail to remember. Shame on me because I grew up around it, was when a really good program gets a big lead and you get those young guys in the game. Cushing had some big leads the last 2 seasons with that class that just graduated. So, it's not like those were the kids that are playing now were just thrown into the fire back in week 0 or 1 or whenever they started. So that's something that, that's why I say reload, not necessarily rebuild. It's not like they got a new coach and there's a new offensive system, something they've been running for a while. But that is good. McLean's kind of one of those upstart teams. You got to think they got a ton of athletes and their record, let's see what happens. I'm interested in that one too.
And it's at McLean, which a year ago wouldn't have been because they were the school that didn't get to play home games.
That's true.
So that's another interesting aspect. Also, I think tonight will be the end of the Hera whatever obsession or whatever it is.
I think,
beating 3 crappy non-district teams or 2 of them, it's enough. Newcastle's going to roll them up, and then we won't have to see Hera in the top 10 of a game of the week ever again, or at least for the rest of the season.
Right. So top 10 in the Oklahoman, correct? Like
top 10 games,
not games, but are they ranked in
no,
the
no,
Oklahoman?
they weren't.
Not.
No,
okay.
But they had more AP votes than Elk City did. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Anyway, Hera's done.
Pretty
After tonight, Hera's done.
Pretty ridiculous. We all know why Hera's getting the attention from the Oklahoman.
Is this a little bit like an SEC bump being in 4A2?
A little. Well, there's that, and then their proximity to the offices of the Oklahoman.
Yeah, they're done after tonight. Move on from Hera. Another school that I know is about to start, and it starts with tonight, and somebody that we've seen. Have you looked up Carl Albert's schedule coming up here pretty quick? Last 3.
I'm trying to put. No, I have not.
They play McGinnis tonight at home. Then they go to Guthrie. Have you seen what Guthrie's done?
Guthrie's good.
Guthrie's getting about 3 points all year.
Guthrie's good.
3 points. And they play Southeast tonight, which Cash destroyed. I'm going to go ahead and say they're going to roll into week 8 at home against Carl Albert in the Rock, giving up 3 points in 7 games.
Yeah, that's.
And I'm going to say Carl Albert's going to get more than 3.
Oh yeah, so yeah,
that will be. I'm going to tell you right now.
That should be the.
Hey, Oklahoman, I'm going to do it for you.
Yeah.
Game of the week next week is going to be Carl Albert and Guthrie.
I know they made a lot of hires over there at the Oklahoman, maybe not from Oklahoma, but this should be an easy one, right? That's the number 1 game, and I would not be shocked if Carl Albert goes and just
destroys them.
Yeah, I don't want to go that far, but I kind of do.
I bet they get more than 3.
Oh, they'll get more than 3.
All right, we got to take a break.
That's an atmosphere I want to go to. I've never been to a game at Guthrie.
I haven't either, and that stadium looks super cool. It's almost like the baseball field here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd like to see a game there one day.
Hanging out here on a football Thursday night lights tonight all across the state of Oklahoma on the high school gridiron. Big Elk's headed to Chickasha. You can watch that one, Big Elk TV. Listen to it on Cool 94. It's a 6:15 pregame ahead of the 7 o'clock kick. The Battle for Beckham County, Paragon TV, Merritt going to Sayre tonight. That's a 7 o'clock kick. And Hollis at Beaver, Class B, District 1 action. Basically a must-win for Hollis to stay in the race in Class B, District 1. It's similar to what we're going to see in 4A1. Is you're going to end up having, I think it's only it's a 6-team district. Beaver's going to lose every game. And the other 5 are going to be jockeying for 4 spots. So, got to beat Beaver, and then got to beat somebody else by the time it's all said and done to make the Class B playoffs again. All right, Jared. For me personally, as somebody that doesn't have a dog in the fight, I could not be more pleased with the results of the American League playoffs to this point. And that is that we get the Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros in the American League Championship Series. These two teams do not like each other. These two fan bases go back and forth. I actually was able to start a little trash talk last night on a group chat, a group text between a couple of,
You started it? You just got it going?
We already had one going, and I just kind of stirred the pot. Said, all right, let the hate begin. And then there was a couple of quips back and forth. I'm super excited. I can't wait to see how this plays out. Just looking at it, Houston won the season series over Texas 9-4, and they won 8 out of the last 10. But they haven't played in a while. I think it was early August the last time they played. So it's been a little bit since these two have hooked horns. But Houston did have the better of it in the season series. What gives you confidence, or do you have confidence, that the Rangers will beat the Astros and head to the World Series?
Familiarity, just knowing each other, playing each other, like you mentioned. That was, I can't stand Houston, so I was rooting for the Twins last night. But Houston's good, and so I was pro and con on it after they got the win, and that was my main pro, was that they know each other and there's a lot of familiarity there. So that gives me confidence. The starting pitching gives me a lot of confidence for the Rangers if Scherzer is indeed going to get back, and if he's 100% a go. Montgomery's been great. Evaldi's been great. So you're probably, how awesome would it be if it was Scherzer versus Verlander Game 1 on Sunday. So that gives me all the confidence. And then just is it time for – listen, Houston's been here. Obviously, the numbers are staggering, like 7th time in a row that they've been to the ALCS, winning 2 of them in that 7-year span. But is it time for someone else? You see that in sports sometimes where just the gas runs out, the age shows, or whatever you want to call it. Is it the Rangers' time? But listen, I love the matchup. Don't kid yourself. As a Ranger fan, I want the easier opponent in the Twins. But as just a baseball fan, I'm loving this matchup. If we're not going to get New York Yankees versus Boston Red Sox in the ALCS, that's a bitter rivalry. This is kind of like the new bitter rivalry in the AL, Houston and Texas. I'll take it all day. Give me 7 games of it. Let's go.
They've actually made the World Series 4 times out of the previous 6.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I was thinking of the 2 times they won it.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, and won 2 and lost 2. Once they've gotten there,
right?
Do you realize they're only the second franchise in the history of baseball to make 7 straight league championship series? You know who the other one is?
Did I mention one of them?
I don't think so.
Yankees?
Nope.
Sox?
Nope.
No. Who?
The Atlanta Braves.
Oh, yeah.
From 91 to 99. 90s.
Yeah.
They went to 8 straight. So Houston.
Sorry, I stayed in the AL with that answer.
One behind there. But let's see. Yeah, you mentioned starting pitching. I was actually surprised. I looked up the numbers, just kind of team stats. This is rough looking up the stats. But Houston has a decided advantage in pitching. They allowed opposing teams to hit 394. 8, that can't be right. I looked at the wrong stat. Anyway, 8th versus 18th. They had 70 quality starts to 66 for Texas, 5th and 10th in the league. Hitting is an edge to the Rangers, slightly. They hit 263 as a team, 259 for Houston, so those are pretty close. And then the biggest, you know what the biggest advantage, at least by the numbers the Rangers have? Catching the baseball. They were second in the league in fielding, second fewest errors. Houston kind of down in the middle of the pack. So those kind of some interesting numbers, I thought, looking ahead to this matchup. I think that, to me, if the Rangers are going to win, that quality start number has to be 5. Or maybe even 6. Which is 6 innings, 2 less given up, earned runs. Because the bullpen. And that's the bullpen is where Houston has their biggest advantage.
Exactly.
Just because, and I don't even know how good theirs is. But Texas is so awful that it's always going to be an advantage to the other team.
Yeah. For the Rangers to have a chance, and we've seen this in all their games, they are the aggressor. They start things off. I don't think they've come back to win any playoff game so far. They've always they're first to score, and they hold on to the lead and win. So they got to be the aggressor, and that does wonders for the psyche of your starting pitching. When they can go and take the bump in the second or third inning and they're up 1-0, 2-0, like, okay, I got some room to work with here, and it loosens them up. So, yeah, and the bats have been fantastic for the Rangers in this run right now, but that's got to continue. They are starting Verlander. Texas not announced a starter yet. I think they're going to man, that makes you wonder, right? Makes you wonder, are they really going to go with Scherzer?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't see it, but they might.
Wish they would say a game time. They have not yet.
Are they just waiting?
They just said Sunday. They might be waiting for tonight's results for TV purposes. This screams primetime game.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal: you want to avoid going up against the football.
Right.
All you can.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen. It just is going to happen.
It's October.
Here's the good thing. I'm kind of sneaking in some stats from Houston just because I'm getting fed them. 8th inning guy for Houston hasn't given up a run since July. So that speaks to your point back to
get on top.
Really need to get ahead.
Yeah.
The Rangers need to play from ahead for multiple reasons. But the bullpen issue is a big one. It's a 2-3-2 format.
Still one on the road, and Rangers.
So then maybe not have to go back. All right, are you going to give us a pick? I tell you what,
no.
I'm going to give you a chance.
I'm not here tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to give you a chance to. Would you like to double up on the burrito bet?
Oh, right.
I will give you an opportunity to win your burrito.
Yeah, I do owe
back
you a
here.
burrito. I do. I'm sorry about that. I forgot. I was in a hurry to get here.
Listen, we had other food today.
Yeah, what the heck?
I mean, you might as well go double or nothing.
Yeah, what the heck? What the heck?
Okay. Well, I'll take the Rangers.
You'll take the Rangers?
No, I'm kidding.
What?
I knew you wanted the Rangers, so I was going to get out in front of it.
I said it earlier, 7. I think Rangers in 7.
Yeah, I think
we're going to have all kinds of drama in this series.
I've got Houston in 6 with the 2-3-2 format.
Let me ask you this. I was thinking about this last night. Does the winner of this series, are they the favorite regardless? It feels like if the Rangers roll, they just feel like that team of destiny right now. They're just winning. Astros are the Astros. You get them in the World Series, you almost can't bet against them. Then you got Philly.
I think it depends.
Atlanta,
I still think it depends on who comes out. If it ends up being Philly and Arizona, maybe. I think.
What if Arizona somehow sneaks in the World Series?
If it's Philly and Arizona, Houston 100% is going to be the betting favorite because of that experience, because of 5 and 7 years, whatever, making it to the World Series. Now Atlanta, if they can wiggle off the hook here and get there, we'll see. For either team, I think Rangers Phillies would be an interesting number because of the Phillies, coming back after getting beat last year. I think anybody would be a favorite over Arizona just because of the way the season played out. I mean, these two teams won 6 more in the regular season. Everybody did that's still alive. At least 6 more than the Diamondbacks, even though they swept out the Dodgers. So, yeah, probably so. I mean, I think the Rangers are the betting favorite right now, or were.
went down a little bit
because of the Astros winning. It's got to be part of it.
They're the third favorite behind. Well, that was before last night's game, so it might switch. I know Astros like second, and then ironically, crazy enough, Braves were the betting favorite.
Well, I mean, 104 wins, that makes sense. But now that they're down.
But it's switching every day to day.
Yeah, now that they're down 1-2.
So, let's just Google it up. Let me find out. World
I would bet
Series
you that the
odds.
Astros are the favorite.
Let's see how recent this is. That's one day. Give me a minute. I'm going to go to FanDuel.
All right, I'll talk about
You look for that, or
I'll talk about the National League Series.
Okay, it's the Astros are the
Yeah, I figured
favorite,
so.
followed by the Rangers.
Yep, that makes sense to me.
And then Philly, and then Arizona, and then the Braves, the very last of who's left.
Yeah, that would jump
So again,
up.
that kind of just goes back to my question of these two teams, Houston and Texas. If they get out of this, are they going to be the favorite in the World Series?
I think no matter what happens, I think Arizona's going to be the least favorite,
Sure.
the longest shot going into the LCSs. I think if Atlanta were to make it, they'd be on the top, and the AL teams in the middle. I think if Philly makes it, then you might see it be Houston, Philly, Texas, or Houston, Texas, Philly. Either way, be close. All right, so last night, Braves are on the brink. Philly wins 10-2. Bryce Harper took exception to something that I don't think was ever supposed to be public knowledge. I mean, those, staring Arcia down or whatever after both home runs. You realize that Bryce Harper now has hit the most home runs in the National League Division Series ever.
Really?
10. He's had 10 homers in the Division Series. You know who he passed?
No.
We mentioned his team earlier with another stat.
It was a Brave.
It was a Brave.
Who was it?
I mean,
Chipper
Jones.
Yeah.
He had 9. I asked the question yesterday. Do you think the Braves get back to Atlanta? I said no, and I still don't think they will.
No.
It just feels like the Phillies back to that Trey Turner moment where he was struggling. They give him a standing ovation, and the numbers are incredible since then. The way that almost galvanized the team, and Philly just feels like it feels like they're headed back to the World Series to face one of the two Texas teams. Dodgers, ouch. The Dodgers starting pitching only threw 4 2/3 innings in 3 games in this series. That's all they were able to muster.
Awful.
You know how awful it is?
Historically bad.
The worst of all
worst
time.
Ever.
It's literally the worst, the fewest innings pitched by starting pitching in the first 3 games of any series in the history of baseball.
So it was not just Kershaw.
It
was all of them. All of them. Awful.
But he got a third of those,
Yeah.
which set him behind the 8 ball pretty far. But last night the Diamondbacks did something that's never happened in a playoff game, and that is 4 home runs in 1 inning.
That was a crazy inning. Did you see that? Did you see the overturned home run?
No, I was in transit.
It was insane. I'm watching it. I was helping my kid with some homework, so I had it on mute, and I had my side eye on it. Well, I'm like, oh, man, they hit another home run. Well, it was right down the right field line, and the Dodgers, the right fielder, and even the staff that's kind of in the bullpen here, they're like, no, that's foul. That's foul. So they go, the guy, I'm sorry, I don't remember who it was. He makes it all the way around, celebrating, going nuts. Well, they go, oh, we need a review. So they review it. They overturn it. So, nope, foul ball. Very next pitch.
He hits it out.
He hits it out over the left field wall. I mean, and that was the 4th of the 4 in a row home runs. The place was, and that's when you knew that's over. That it's over. Place was crazy electric. Awesome. As good of a story as the Rangers, the Diamondbacks, that's a pretty cool story too, just coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, and the young guys for both of those teams, what's your guy? The young guy.
Carter?
Yeah. Evan Carter. I was going to say Carter Evans. I knew that wasn't right. Yeah, Evan Carter. And then for the Diamondbacks, what's his name? Oh, gosh, the young guy. Just a second.
I'm not familiar. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue. It seems like it starts with a D. Anyway, those guys have set like records getting on base. Corbin Carroll. It's C. Corbin Carroll. As far as getting on base the most times, and they're like their first 4 or 3 or whatever, 12 plate appearance, whatever it was. I saw it both side by side there in the Ranger game the other day. So those young guys are making a big difference.
I saw that stat.
Yeah, it was something the first time ever.
It's so how big is it when you get a rookie, especially a guy that you bring up like in August, in Carter, for example, you get him in this deep playoff run, and it's going to be all he knows.
Yeah.
Like, this is all we do here. This is all I know. I never missed a play. That's going to be a thing for him. But
I know it would have been a really tough ask. But to your point about this, I wonder if there's part of the Orioles that wish they'd have brought Jackson Holiday up. I mean, that's a really hard ask for a guy that young. I totally get why they didn't, and it's probably the right thing to do. But with saying what you just said there, and with the success of those two young guys in both leagues, I wonder if there's a little part of them that wishes, dang, maybe not even throwing him out there, but just to have him there, maybe pinch hit in a big spot, just to get him out there in a situation like that.
He will be in the lineup on April 1st or
I think so, too.
He
sure seems like it.
Yeah, he'll be swinging the bat in Baltimore than wherever AAA is at. Back to the Dodgers real quick. With this showing in the playoffs, just on top of bad playoff showings in the past, does this hurt their chances at Ohtani?
Or maybe their pitch is,
we need you. Look,
you're the guy that puts us over the edge here. Did you see the Philly fans last night?
I saw them doing the tomahawk chop.
Yeah, they also were chanting, "We want Strider."
Fill me in.
Spencer Strider. Did you not see what he said?
No.
About the game would be better if there weren't fans in the stands?
Oh, wow. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what gives Philly the advantage if you're in a series with Philly, is their fans. I mean, just like the Eagle fans and the 76ers fans, the Philadelphia Philly fans are fanatic, just like their mascot. They're crazy.
They're going to get him.
Huh?
They're going to get him. Spencer Strider.
Yeah?
He's starting tonight.
Nice.
For the Bravos. A little breaking news here, Jared.
Breaking sports news.
Breaking sports news, and that breaking sports news is this. They held the junior high all-star cross-country meet this morning at Chickasha. And one Parker Ruth Morris, 8th grader from Sayre, is an all-star.
Very cool.
She finished 8th out of 193 runners. There is zero doubt in my mind that she got her speed and stamina and her endurance from anyone but Bubba, which turns out to be me. So congratulations to Parker Ruth.
No credit to her parents.
No, I'm saying it didn't come from me.
Oh,
I was building that. No,
I got you.
All that she got, none of it came from me. But congratulations to Parker Ruth. That is so awesome. And she is an absolute stud.
I tell you what, I see a lot. This was cross country.
Cross country.
I see a lot of opportunity for kids to go run cross country at the collegiate level, at any level in college, which is a great. I mean, I got a friend who has a senior who's doing that stuff in cross country at the high school level, and he shares with me a bunch of letters and emails that she's getting from colleges. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Way to go. Way to go, Parker Ruth. Also, I briefly mentioned this the other day, we just never got to it. But a guy we've had on the show, I think he was on when you were gone to Florida, Ryder Cowan.
Yeah, I was.
I think you were in Florida, and all that was happening right there when you happened to be gone. He was going for that triple crown of amateur golf in Oklahoma that had never been done. Mm-hmm. Went in the junior am, the state stroke play in the state am, and he came just a little bit short. So he had played. He was in his true freshman year at OU. Played in one stroke play event up in Olympia, Washington, a couple weeks ago. Played okay, but not up to what his standard is. So he was able to go down, qualified to be on the 5-man rotation at the Big 12 match play tournament that concluded yesterday. Sooners got 5th as a team, and a big part of that was they lost to Houston in round 1 and never could get help enough to get back into like the finals or whatever. So they lost to Houston and then stormed through the rest of the matches. They ended up winning having the way they kept score, the hole differential, like Sooner wins versus teams they played against wins per hole in a match play.
Yeah.
They dominated that throughout the tournament better than anybody, but that first match kind of knocked him down the totem pole just a little bit. But individually for Ryder, so he goes 4-0-1. 4 wins, no losses, tied his first match against Houston, then blew through Texas, TCU, BYU, and Tech. For 5 rounds, and of course it's a little bit different in stroke play because maybe you have a 5-footer that you've already beaten your guy and he gives it to you, so you don't necessarily have to make every single putt, just the way that match play is. Mm-hmm. But with the holes he played, and he didn't play them all because he was finishing dudes 3 or 4 holes before the end.
No need to play them, yeah.
So instead of, that'd be 90 holes, 5 times 18, 90. So instead of 90 holes played, he probably played closer to 80 or maybe just a couple under. Through those holes that he did finish, though, 23 under par in 5 matches for true freshman Ryder count. Just an awesome display of golf for him.
Shook off that college.
Yeah, whatever it was. I'm sure there was nerves. I'm sure there was adrenaline. Like, oh, yes, this is what I've been trying to do my whole life, and here I am. Yeah, it only took him one of those, and now he's just dominant. And honestly, another freshman, Luke Kluver, was great too. So the future, OU's kind of after Quaid and that group left, there's been just a little bit of a dip the last year or two. That appears to maybe be coming back strong with some of these young guys with Ryder and Luke, and I think there's another kid named PJ Maybank that's a true freshman. So that class that Hibble recruited to go along with the guys that have been there. Look out, the Sooners are looking pretty good. OSU I think finished 3rd or 4th. Texas won it. I kind of quit looking once Ryder was done, but man, he was awesome for Ryder.
It's a good sign. It's a good sign.
Kluver's a senior. Well, Michael told me he was a freshman. Well, that didn't work out very well. I know Maybank is a freshman.
Don't you hate when you get bad info?
I did. I was just listening to Michael go on and on yesterday at our house. But anyhow, still bright future, and Ryder was great this week.
Very good.
Down at Houston,
yeah,
the
cool.
Houston Oaks Country Club, I believe it was. All right, let's get to those college football topics. One that I asked about yesterday, we never got there. You hear what Mark Stoops said about Georgia?
I saw the headline. Said basically Georgia buys their players with the NIL.
Bought great players, yeah. That's exactly what he said.
Okay.
And his point wasn't like sour grapes. Oh, they bought him and beat us.
Right.
His point was, and listen, Kentucky fan, if that's what you want to see here, donate to the NIL. When you first see the headline, you think, oh, what a wuss. But then if you actually listen to what he said, it was like an advertisement, like a plea, to get that thing rolling at Kentucky. I don't know.
It wasn't an accusation of cheating.
No.
It's not cheating. It's just he's pointing out a fact here.
So I can't think of another time where we've openly heard a coach campaigning for donations to the NIL.
You can't or can?
I can't. And especially not in that. I mean, that was like his coach's show.
Right.
Like a university-sponsored event.
Well, I don't think so. This is the kind of the thing that when Saban said something about Georgia, remember that?
Yeah,
kind of in the same vein, but it was more from a bitter side. It was
right.
It wasn't from like a, hey, listen, this is how they're doing it. They get some pretty good guys to the NIL. He used the word bot, whatever you want to call it, and that's what he's wanting at Kentucky. I wonder if that's what Saban was trying to say.
Well,
but it came off because Saban can say some things. You're like, geez, what a jerk! But he's not trying to be a jerk. He's just a grumpy old ball coach.
Part of the Saban problem is, I'm sure he hates NIL because they had NIL when it wasn't legal.
Yeah,
but
right.
So it's leveling the playing field a bit. And just his demeanor. But I thought that was really interesting. And here's the deal. You hadn't heard much from it because I don't think people there's nothing to get outraged about.
No.
He's just telling the truth.
Yeah.
It's like, hey.
Georgia fans, he's right. We're not cheating. So.
Now, a little bit different than maybe the Saban Jimbo stuff from a summer ago. Now that it's not just this brand new thing.
Right.
People are starting to figure out exactly how it works, and so maybe some of that the accusatory
What's
tones
crazy?
will
They're
go
going to
away.
figure out how it works, and then
gonna
there's
change
already new rules that are being proposed on how to kind of curb it up a little bit.
Did you see some comments from one Lincoln Riley?
I saw. I think if we're thinking about the same thing during the meeting with the press after a practice about, he was really defensive of his defense.
No, I'm not talking about that.
Not that one?
Nope.
Okay, what did he say?
More that talking about the difference in the lifestyle between the college football head coach and the NFL.
Oh yeah, he said
head
it was.
coach.
Yeah, he said he kind of envies the NFL coach. Yeah. Didn't he follow it up with, "No, I'm not interested in taking a job," or something like that?
Yeah. Do we believe anything he says?
No, that should be a major red flag if you're a USC fan.
Warning.
He said
Warning.
the same thing here in Norman.
Hang on. Talk amongst yourself for just a second.
Yeah, he's full of crap. He's just full of it.
If I was a USC fan,
Yeah, exactly.
that's what would be going through my head right now if I wanted Lincoln
Danger.
Riley to stay.
Danger.
But you know what? How close are they to being kind of where OU fans were? Yeah. If he's not going to pay attention to the defensive side of the ball, who cares? Go on. Isn't it funny?
USC fans are almost there.
Isn't it funny how quickly that has happened? What once was called sour grapes by said USC fan toward OU fan, when all the OU fans were doing was trying to warn them.
Yeah. Reminds me of the time when one of my ex-girlfriends was dating my friend. I was like, "Hey, man, she's crazy. Just get she's fine."
You don't believe it in the
She's
moment.
Nuts. And then a few months later, "Dude, she's crazy.
Yeah.
I tried to tell you."
Tried to tell you, but you just wouldn't listen.
Like, how do I get out of this? She's your problem now. I'm happy with mine now.
I think
that's what OU's doing.
So
We're happy with ours.
Are you comparing Allie to Brent Venables at the moment?
Exactly. Allie is my Brent Venables.
All right, everybody have a great Thursday. Don't forget football tonight. Paragon TV, we got the battle for Beckham County between Merritt and Sayre, Hollis and Beaver. Also Paragon TV, those are 7 o'clock kicks. Big Elks at Chickasha, 6:15 pregame, 7 o'clock kick.
No, from the text line, I'm not going to say who my Lincoln Riley was.
Oh, that's the first time. Oh, you're not going to be here tomorrow. Maybe on Monday.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.
That